The Korean War is often remembered for jet aircraft, frozen battle lines, and modern logistics stretched to their limits. What is less often acknowledged is how frequently soldiers survived not because of advanced technology, but because they reverted to older, simpler principles of mobility, self-reliance, and constant readiness. In Korea, units that could move, dig, repair, and sustain themselves without waiting for resupply endured conditions that overwhelmed better-equipped forces. That reality exposes a misconception many people still carry today. Survival does not depend on how modern your gear is, but on whether it solves the same problems humans have faced for thousands of years. If you value this kind of historically grounded survival thinking, consider subscribing to Backyard Wisdom. This channel exists to strip preparedness down to what actually works, tested not by trends, but by time. Long before modern armies struggled in Korea, Roman legionaries had already solved many of the same problems. Their tools were not accessories. They were survival systems refined through centuries of hard campaigning. When people talk about bug-out bags today, they often focus on novelty. Roman legions focused on continuity, tools that worked everywhere, every day, under stress. The Roman legionary was designed to survive before he was designed to fight. A common mistake is to think of Roman equipment as purely martial. In reality, the legionary was a mobile laborer first and a fighter second. Roman campaigns were not won by decisive battles alone, but by the army's ability to arrive intact, dig in every night, and function independently of local infrastructure. This mindset matters for modern preparedness. In Korea, units that could entrench quickly and repair their own positions survived artillery and cold better than those waiting on engineers. The Romans institutionalized that lesson 2 millennia earlier. The entrenching tool, believe it or not, mattered more than the sword. Every Roman soldier carried a delabra or, a similar entrenching implement. It was part pick, part adze, and part shovel. With it, a legionary could dig drainage, cut roots, break frozen soil, and shape earthworks. This was not optional equipment. Roman camps were fortified every night, regardless of proximity to the enemy. The result was predictable survival. Soldiers slept behind earth, not hope. Modern survival kits often overlook digging tools because, they're heavy or just inconvenient to carry around. But the Romans, they accepted the extra weight because they really understood the trade-off. Earth itself is insulation, protection, concealment, and shelter material all at once. In Korea, soldiers had to relearn this lesson under fire. The Romans, though, they never forgot it. The Roman pack, interestingly, emphasized repair, not replacement. Legionaries actually carried tools to fix whatever broke. Awls, leather thongs, spare fittings, and simple iron tools meant they could constantly maintain their footwear, armor, and packs. For them, equipment failure was treated as a personal emergency, not just a logistical one. This whole philosophy really contrasts sharply with modern consumer survival gear, which often just assumes you'll replace things rather than repair them. But in prolonged crises, replacement simply doesn't exist. Roman survival depended on extending the life of, everything they carried. This lesson, resurfaced in Korea when cold destroyed boots and weapons faster than supply chains could replace them. Soldiers who could improvise repairs stayed operational. Those who could not became liabilities. Roman soldiers carried simple cooking vessels, often shared within small groups. These were not luxuries. They allowed soldiers to boil water, cook grain, and control their diet. Boiled food meant fewer illnesses. Hot meals meant, morale and energy. The ability to prepare food anywhere meant independence from fixed supply points. In Korea, units that could heat water and food consistently suffered fewer cold-related injuries and digestive problems. Roman logistics assumed this from the start. Their cooking tools were survival tools first, comfort items second. The Roman sagum or pennula was not just clothing. It functioned as rain protection, bedding, insulation, and even a makeshift shelter. Its wool construction retained warmth when damp and resisted tearing. Modern survival kits often separate clothing, shelter, and bedding into different items. Roman design combined them. This reduced complexity and failure points. Korean War veterans often recalled relying on ponchos and coats in similar ways when sleeping bags or tents failed to arrive. The Roman cloak represents a principle modern kits frequently ignore: redundancy through versatility. Roman soldiers paid obsessive attention to feet. Spare hobnails, awls, and leather patches were standard. Blisters and foot injuries could end a campaign before an enemy was encountered. This focus mirrors lessons relearned repeatedly in modern wars. In Korea, frostbite and trench foot incapacitated more soldiers than combat in some periods. Survival begins at ground level. A bug-out bag that ignores foot maintenance, well, it just repeats the same historical mistake, no matter how advanced the rest of the gear might be. Roman armies never assumed clean water sources. They expected contamination and scarcity as a matter of course. Soldiers carried containers built for durability, and they relied on boiling or sometimes mixing with wine or vinegar to reduce the risk. In Korea, water sources often froze or were contaminated by movement and bombardment. But units that managed water proactively, they endured. The Roman system, honestly, reminds us that hydration is about logistics, not just convenience. Roman tools were selected to support constant movement. Roads were built because movement mattered. Camps were temporary because stagnation invited disaster. This mindset aligns closely with modern bug-out thinking, but with one crucial difference. Romans did not plan to escape danger once. They planned to live in motion indefinitely. Their tools reflect that reality. Nothing was specialized for a single use. Everything justified its weight daily. Roman legionary tools endure conceptually because they address universal problems: shelter, warmth, water, food, repair, and mobility. These problems did not change in Korea. They will not change in future crises. Technology can enhance solutions, but it cannot eliminate the underlying needs. When modern systems fail, older principles reassert themselves immediately. This is why studying Roman equipment is not nostalgia. It is systems analysis across time. Survival is not about owning the best version of something. It is about owning the right categories of capability. Roman legionaries carried what allowed them to shape their environment, not escape it. Korea reminded modern armies of this reality under brutal conditions. Backyard preparedness benefits from remembering it without having to relearn it the hard way. History does not repeat itself exactly, but it pressures us in familiar ways. Cold, hunger, fatigue, and isolation remain constant. The Roman legionary survived because his tools addressed those constants directly. Understanding why those tools mattered helps cut through noise and trend-driven thinking. It grounds preparedness in reality rather than fear. If you value this kind of historically tested survival wisdom, subscribe to Backyard Wisdom and share this video with others who care about preparedness that actually works. These lessons have survived empires, wars, and centuries for a reason, and they are still worth carrying forward.